What if I told you that all of the hard work that you're doing might be completely invisible to the people that decide your career? Not because you're doing bad work, but because you're doing the wrong work. Wouldn't you like to know which is which? You show up every day. You do what's asked of you. You're responsive, reliable, and you hit your deadlines. And yet somehow other people are getting promoted while you're stuck in place. Your manager says you're doing good work, but that never translates into high performance reviews, raises, recognition, or the interesting projects that you actually want. Here's what I learned after 20 years in the industry. Working harder at the same things doesn't move the needle. It's like throwing darts at a board with perfect consistency, hitting the same spot over and over again, except for you're completely missing the bullseye. Nobody cares how hard you work if you're hitting the wrong target. They only care about the value you create. And the difference between those two things, that's what this video is about. My name is Steve Huynh, but you can call me Uncle Steve. I spent nearly 2 decades at Amazon, where I rose to the rank of principal engineer, and I watched incredibly talented, hardworking people plateau while others seemed to glide up the ladder. For years, I thought it was politics or luck or who you knew, but I'm here to tell you it's not. It's something much simpler, and I'll break it down for you in this video. If you like this type of content and want more career advice that actually works, hit the like and subscribe button. It helps me know that I'm on the right track. If there's a topic you want me to cover, drop it in the comments. I read every one. Let me paint a picture that probably feels familiar. You're deep in the zone. You've just refactored a gnarly piece of legacy code. It's cleaner now, much more maintainable, and easier to test. You spent days on it. You feel good about the work. You commit it, you create the PR, and nothing. A couple of approvals, maybe a looks good to me comment, then everyone just moves on. Meanwhile, your coworker spent an hour writing a bash script to automate something manual, and suddenly they're a hero. People are thanking them in meetings. Managers are asking, can you do this for my team too? Or here's another scenario. You've been grinding. You're always responsive, always reliable, and you deliver your work on time. Performance review season comes around and you get meets expectations. Meanwhile, someone who works normal hours and takes actual vacations got exceeds and is being considered for promotion. What's going on here? You're working hard, but you're aiming at the wrong target. You're solving problems you care about, not problems others care about. You're throwing darts with perfect consistency, hitting the same spot over and over again. You're just completely missing the bullseye. To understand what's going on, we're going to use a concept from the startup world, product market fit. In startups, you can have killer technology, a team of geniuses working around the clock, but if you haven't found a market that values what you're building, none of it matters. You're just burning money. Your career works the same way. You can be incredibly skilled, working harder than anybody else, but if your work isn't solving problems that people care about, you're going to stay invisible. I just got back from a YouTube creator conference in Dallas, where I met someone who made this painfully clear. This guy was talented, charismatic, and hardworking. He told me he was a polymath, a person with extensive knowledge across many different subjects who's able to draw from these diverse areas to solve a wide variety of problems. At karaoke, he got a standing ovation from strangers. He absolutely killed it. Later, he told me that he created over 5,000 videos over the past 8 years. I thought I was talking to the next Mr. Beast. But then he showed me his channel, a couple hundred subscribers and many, many videos with single-digit views. How does someone so gifted and an outlier in both talent and effort have such a dismal set of results? Because he had a product, his content, his skills, his effort, but he never found a market that valued it. His videos were him talking about himself and what he wanted to talk about, but he never gave his audience a reason to watch his stuff. The exact same thing happens at work. The engineers who succeed aren't necessarily the hardest workers or the most technically brilliant. They're the ones who find product market fit for their work. Think of yourself as a company of one. You have a product, your skills, your unique strengths, your capacity to solve problems. The market is the expensive, painful problems your company desperately needs solved. Most people spend their careers perfecting their product, learning new frameworks, improving their code quality, getting better at their craft. That's good. You should do that. But if you never find the right market for those skills, it doesn't matter. You're the person with 5,000 videos and nobody watching. Companies don't hire people because they like having smart people hanging around. They hire as a last resort to solve problems that they can't ignore anymore. Stop asking, what should I learn next? Or how can I improve my skills? Start asking, what expensive pain can I solve? Because once you find that fit, once you connect your unique abilities to a real problem that people care about, suddenly all of that hard work that you've been doing actually matters. Your effort becomes visible because it's aimed at the right target. So let me show you exactly how to find that target. Speaking of making your work production ready, let me show you something that's become essential in my workflow. And it's a perfect example of solving a real pain point. With AI coding agents like Claude Code, Cursor CLI, and Gemini, we're all generating code faster than ever. But here's the problem. AI-generated code can have hallucinations, logical errors, and code smells that slip right past you. You're moving fast, but are you creating value or just creating tech debt? That's where today's sponsor, CodeRabbit CLI, comes in. It's terminal-native AI code review that catches issues at terminal velocity before you commit, before the PR, before it becomes everyone's problem. Here's what makes it brilliant. It works right in your command line with whatever AI coding agent you're already using. You write code with Claude or Cursor, you run CodeRabbit review, and it gives you senior engineer level feedback instantly. It catches hallucinations, security issues, performance problems, the stuff that would embarrass you in code review. And the best part? CLI reviews are completely free. This is exactly what we're talking about. It solves a real pain point. In the AI era, code generation isn't the frontier anymore. Code reviews and production readiness is. CodeRabbit CLI is the quality gate that makes sure your velocity actually creates value. Install it with one command. I'll drop the link in the description. Trust me, future you will thank present you. So how do you find product market fit? You start with market research. And your first customer, your most important customer, is your boss. But here's what most people get wrong. They ask questions like, am I doing a good job? Or how's my performance? And they get polite, useless answers. Yeah, you're doing great. Keep it up. That's not market research. That's asking your mom if your business idea is good. She's going to say yes because she loves you. There's a brilliant book called The Mom Test by Rob Fitzpatrick. The premise is simple. Stop asking for opinions on your solution and start asking about your customers' lives to find the real problems. Apply this to your manager. In your next one-on-one, ask questions like, what's the most frustrating part of your week? What's the biggest thing slowing our team down right now? If you could wave a magic wand and solve one problem, what would it be? Listen for their frustration. The answer to those questions is your market. Solving that problem is your product. Let me give you an example from Amazon. I was once asked to help a team that was known for buggy code and moving really slow. The diagnosis was that it was a skills gap. The plan was to create a training program to teach them better engineering practices. But instead of building a curriculum right away, I spent a week just watching them work. You know what I found? There wasn't a skills gap at all. It was a pain gap. Their process for releasing software was an absolute nightmare. A single deployment took days and involved dozens of manual steps and approvals. The process was so heavyweight that teams would batch changes together, which meant that any particular release had a high chance of issues. It became a self-fulfilling prophecy. These weren't bad engineers. They were good engineers trapped in a terrible system. The pain wasn't lack of skills. The pain was a broken deployment process that was costing the team 2 developer weeks of productivity every single month. That's expensive pain. That's the kind of pain that gets attention and budget. Now, here's the key. Once you've found that expensive problem, you need to ask yourself a different question. Not, how do I solve this once, but what skill, if I mastered it, would solve this class of problem forever? Your long-term value isn't in a single solution. It's in your capacity to solve many problems. You have to build a tool, and that tool is you. With that deployment team, my unique skill wasn't that I knew how to set up continuous deployment. I did. Half the engineers on that team probably knew more about CI/CD pipelines than I did, but my skill was in translating technical pain into business impact. I showed them how to frame the problem not as our deployment pipeline is complex, but as we're losing 2 developer weeks of productivity per month to this process, which is delaying our feature launch by a quarter. I guided them on what to say at meetings, but then I stayed silent and forced them to deliver the message. Suddenly, leadership understood. The team got the bandwidth they needed because the pain was surfaced in terms business leaders actually care about. This ability came from a core part of who I am. I believe in teaching people how to fish, not just giving them a fish. The most powerful skills are extensions of your personality. So here's how to find your unique skill. First, what kind of problems are you naturally drawn to? Are you the person who loves untangling legacy code? The one who can debug the impossible? The one who designs complex systems? Or maybe you're the one who naturally bridges the gap between engineering and product. Second, what activity gives you energy while draining others? Maybe it's refactoring. Maybe it's mentoring junior engineers. Maybe it's performance optimization. The thing that makes others say, I don't know how you have the patience for that, is a clue. Third, and this is huge, what compliment do you brush off because it felt too easy? When someone thanks you for explaining something clearly or staying calm during an outage, your instinct might be to say, it was nothing. It wasn't nothing. It was you using a core skill that feels so natural, you don't even recognize it as valuable. The pattern in your answers points to your most authentic product. That's the core of your product market fit. Okay, so you found the expensive pain. You've identified your unique skill that can solve it. Now comes the execution. This is where the magic happens, because there's a huge difference between being helpful once and being essential. Let me show you what I mean. I once spent weeks refactoring a code base. I love that type of work, cleaning things up, simplifying the dependency graph, removing duplication. At the end, the code was objectively better, more maintainable, easier to test. But you know what? Nobody cared. I got a polite, nice work in a code review, and everyone moved on. A few weeks later, I spent maybe 2 hours writing a simple Python script to automate a tedious task that our program management team had to do manually. It saved them hours every single week. Suddenly, I was a hero. People were thanking me in meetings. Other teams wanted to know if I could do something similar for them. The difference? One solved a problem that I cared about. The other solved a problem they cared about. So here's your framework to turn your solutions into systems. I call it the value loop. Step 1, solve for one. Find one person with a nagging problem and apply your unique skills to solve it completely. Don't try to boil the ocean. Make one person's life measurably better. Maybe it's automating a report your manager creates manually. Maybe it's fixing a flaky test that's annoying your team. Whatever it is, deliver a clear, undeniable win. Step 2, generalize the solution. Take your one-off solution and turn it into a reusable tool, template, or documented process. That Python script, I didn't just run it for the support team. I packaged it into an internal website, made it configurable, added documentation, and put it in a shared repo. It went from Steve's script to the support automation tool. Step 3, announce the product. This is where most people fail. They solve the problem, maybe even generalize it, but then they don't tell anybody. You have to share it. Post it in a team channel, mention it in a meeting, write a quick wiki page. Frame it simply. Here's a common pain. Here's the tool that solves it. Here's how to use it. This doesn't just solve one problem. It announces that you're the person who solves a class of problem. And that's where the value loop comes in. More people come to you. You get a reputation. You get more opportunities. You get promoted. That support script, it eventually made its way into production. Other teams forked it. It became part of how we operated. And every time someone used it, they remember who built it. One-time fixes make you helpful. A repeatable system makes you essential. The hardest workers don't always win. The people with the best skills don't always get promoted. The ones who succeed are the ones who find product market fit, who connect what they can uniquely do with problems people desperately need solving. Stop perfecting your product in a vacuum. Go find your market. Ask about pain, not performance. Build the skills that solve expensive problems. Deliver quality solutions and turn them into systems. Because once you find that fit, all that hard work you've been doing, it finally starts to matter. If you found this video helpful, I've got another video that pairs perfectly with this. It's about how to be a better verbal communicator. I spent over $10,000 on learning how to talk better, and I distilled everything I learned into 4 simple steps that anybody can follow. Take a look. I know that you'll love it.